what I was going to talk about, and then I decided to just wing it and just kind of tell you simply how I got to what I'm doing and all the steps that I had to take, and how I do all these things that everybody's talking about every day, which might not necessarily be the best way to do them all, but you know, how I try and manage and what I know I need to do even if I'm not doing it. So basically I used to live in South Florida, and I was really into music, going to drum and bass parties, and going to all sorts of electronic parties like every night, going out all the time, and then I decided that I would like to be more involved, so I started buying records and decided to move to New York eventually. Brought all the turntables up there, everything. I was on a lot of message boards. I feel like message boards right now are not as busy as they used to be then, but you know, I was pretty big on like all the electronic music, and even like someone's in the UK, and you know, all sorts of electronic music message boards. So I was around reading what was going on. Quickly I learned New York and like what I wanted to listen to and what to go to and what was going on. So through that I started going out. Somebody I knew would introduce me to this person that was on there, so you know, through the internet we knew who each other were. And after probably 2 or 3 years of living here, I got a few DJ gigs, small ones in basements of bigger parties, and you know, I don't really think I even really knew what I was doing yet, but the pressure was on, and I kind of eventually had to teach myself because I didn't want to be the girl DJ that didn't know what she was doing. And then did a few of those, and then started getting really motivated and meeting. Since I had met enough people after a few years, I started interning at a record label called Modular. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but it's an Australian label that they have some pretty big nationwide acts. Wolf Mother was on there, and Cut Copy, and like bigger kind of dance acts. So I interned through there, and through there they needed a resident DJ for all of their big events. Started doing that. Through that I met the people through Studio B who hired me at Studio B, and I would run all the events there. And then in the meantime I was DJing here and there, and eventually did my first international show in Berlin, met my now record label partner named Jason Forrest, who you might know. He used to go as DJ Donna Summer, and now we have a record label together called Night Shifters. So started that, put out a bunch of good digital electronic records. Through MySpace became big and started getting recognition. John has a record out on our label, and you know, eventually it built up. I started DJing more, I started traveling, I had an international label, all sorts of stuff. I now have a new radio show coming up on Brooklyn Radio, so met 2 other DJs named DJ Ayers and Nick Ketchups that do 2 totally different parties and have 2 totally different labels than what I do. We kind of joined forces, and we have a monthly party in New York where we can book people as well. So basically it just kind of like spiraled and went like here, there, and everywhere, as opposed to just coming out with music. Which then I learned that to DJ and play electronic music, you need to start making your own music as well. I mean, you don't need to, but like it really helps. So I went to Dubspot, got some help from some friends, and John's definitely one of them. And definitely that's another one of my struggles, is just trying to learn this stuff as much as I can. And started making some of my own remixes, working on my own songs that I am fortunate enough to be able to put out on my label if I need to. So that's really like the build-up of how it all started. And I'm pretty much on my own here. Everybody is so busy in New York, and they're all doing their own thing. And I don't know if you guys learned this, but you really can't count on other people to work with. Like, you have to do everything yourself. no matter what. And you will learn that as time goes on. Nobody's gonna make phone calls for you, nobody's gonna make emails for you, no one's gonna answer your emails, nobody's gonna show up on time, ever. So you kind of have to learn to manage everything yourself. And even if you do have somebody doing your stuff for yourself, they never do it on time, and it gets to the point where like, it's a really fast moving world right now with Twitter, with Facebook, with everything. I mean, Facebook overnight became MySpace, and now MySpace is gone after you were using it every day for how long? You really have to like be in everybody's face every day. So, and one of my struggles is what several people mention is, what do you do and how long do you do it every day, and like, when is it okay to do this and when is it not okay to do this, and how long should you wait before you know, work on something or don't work on something. So in my life, I went through a really huge touring year last year, which really kind of was great, but at the same time, I wasn't able to work on music and do all this stuff. This year, I'm glad that I did it, but this year I find that I'm trying to find a balance on being away from the house and working at home, because I feel like last year I might have put a lot of things aside that if I would have just been doing, I probably would have been in a better place, even though I was touring all over the place. I mean, at the time it was great, but in the long run, like, you know, it spirals and it snowballs, and I feel like less is more right now, and I feel like that's really, really important. I feel like a lot of people are in a rush to like, go do Europe and go do this, and they get there, and because they rushed it, you know, you get what you get what you ask for when you rush it. So you get a rushed gig. You get a rushed gig that like you kind of like hurried up to do, and you know, if you had like 4 or 5 more tunes out, maybe you can wait a little while and like not be as crazy, and then play like a way crazier party, and you can stay home and work on music. I don't know if that made any sense, but I find that working on music for me right now is super important. I try to wake up every day and not check my email right away, because it's not, I try to have a cup of coffee and like chill for a minute, because I find that if you're half asleep and you get the wrong email, it can really put off your whole day, or if you don't get the right email. So I sleep next to my BlackBerry, which is also my alarm clock, and I try to just like put it off and like wake up, brush my teeth, shower. I have a thing that I do that I try to get dressed and act like I'm going into an office, which I find really, really helps me out, because if you're in your pajamas all day, you're going to basically work like you've been in your pajamas all day. So I find that like sometimes I have to put some makeup on, or like put some shoes on and like sit down at a desk in my room and pretend I'm somewhere else, because it kind of helps me out mentally. After I wake up, I do check emails. I find that that works for me, because I have a record label partner that lives in Berlin. So by the time I'm up and ready, it's noon, and it's 6 where he is, so I feel like he's kind of anxiously waiting for me to answer him. I probably wouldn't do it that way if he didn't live there. If he lived here, I'd probably wait until later in the afternoon, just because I work my best on music during the day, but unfortunately for me, I can't really do that. So checking emails and answering emails can take way longer than you think they can. It sounds like 5 emails that might be easy, and then the person answers you. So usually I get stuck in some sort of wormhole for like at least like an hour or 2. And then what I have in my inbox is tons of promos that I'm on email lists for, what's coming out, what's new, and as somebody that's touring, it needs to know what's going on, it moves really fast. Like if you play a song from 6 months ago, it's already old. So I try to listen to music for like at least an hour or two. And I used to be really bad about it and kind of be lazy about it. And if I didn't know the artist or if I didn't know the person, I usually wouldn't I would kind of look over a lot of things. But now that I'm doing this radio show, you know, every 2 weeks I want to have new tunes out. I don't want to have something from 6 months ago that everybody already knew that I didn't because I didn't check my email. So I try to do that and to listen to everything. And you never know, like something might sound so awful on paper and you might be like, oh, this doesn't interest me. And then you'll listen to it and you'll be like, whoa, this is really good. And I find that that's how I found some music for my label also, is I just kind of like gave it a chance and listened to it, even though it didn't sound like the genre that I liked or whatever. So I try to do that all day, or the first half of my day is like emails and promo. Listen to music. I have like a folder on my desktop that says like play or what you would play or things to hold on to with what you wouldn't play out. Try to practice DJing for at least 45 minutes later on in the day. I find that that's really important, especially with all this new music coming, that if you get up there and you've never played it before, there's parts of the song that you don't really know that well, and you can really do damage up there if you've never ever physically played the song in your life. And if you just listen to it, there could be like a drum kick that you've never heard or noticed or something like that. So anything that I would regularly play out at a club that comes in my inbox, I try to at least spin it once or twice at home and like get to know it and stuff like that. Do I always do the practicing thing? I don't. I'll be honest with you. It's kind of one of my New Year's resolutions. Sometimes I wait till the last minute before I have a show and I'll, play the half hour before if it's in New York. Definitely think it's important and trying to get better. Because I played way better if I practiced these songs.
Play guitar?
DJing. Yeah, I'm sorry. So I try to do that, and then I try to work on music for, I have a studio that I rent now twice a week for 6 hours. So I try to go into there. I usually do Wednesdays and Thursdays. If I'm home, I have a really hard time focusing at home. I used to have my own studio in my house, and now I don't. So if I don't go to the studio, I try for at least an hour to do something, like to check out some effects on Ableton Live, or watch a YouTube tutorial, or ask for advice from somebody, try to do a loop or kind of like a skeleton of a song, at least for at least an hour a day. And then on my studio days, I really kind of put my whole day aside and try to get all the emailing out of the way and the internet and stuff like that, and only think about that while I'm there. I think that the internet is a huge part of everybody's balance problem. I personally love the internet. It's my boyfriend. I could spend all day on there. I can get sucked into the YouTube world of stupid videos forever. But I do think that it can give you really, really bad ADD. Even if you are looking up something for help, you're like, oh, what's this? And the next thing you know, your whole night is shot. And your whole night can totally be shot from anything. So I find that really, really helps if you just say it to yourself, and it's so simple, but it's really not that simple. If you just kind of say I'm gonna turn my network off for an hour, and if you do that, you'll actually get done everything that you were trying to do. And that's huge for me. So the studio that I work out of doesn't have internet, which I think is, when I go there, it's a whole other world. I go there, I don't have internet, I sit down, and it's the only thing I think about the whole time up there.